Week 3 in the National Lacrosse League was pure chaos. If you missed it, you missed on some banger games, but that's okay. I'm going to catch you up. Halifax is officially the number 1 team in this league. Toronto with a massive comeback. A couple big upsets we also seen this weekend, as well as Rochester coming in, starting their season off fantastic, showing why they still are that top offensive presence in the league. And if you're new to lacrosse, Box Lacrosse, we're going to go back to the basics at the end of this episode, being episode 20, and just explain the basics of the Box Lacrosse, any of the new fans. So stick around for that one. I want you to comment, is Halifax the number 1 team right now, or do you still think it's Buffalo? Because I've seen kind of both arguments right now. Anyway, welcome back. My name is Jake McDonald. I am Anything Lacrosse, and this is a game that never sits still. This is episode 20. I can't believe we actually made it here, to be honest with you. It's, most people, I'm not going to lie, give up at about episode 10. The statistics, if you watch, most podcasts do not last till episode 10 or any more than after 10 episodes are huge, the drop-off point. So the fact that I've made it to 22 episodes a week, every week so far, essentially 10 weeks now, and I must say, I love doing it. There are times I don't want to get on here though, and I just force myself on here, and once I get going, it's fine. But it's not. I hate saying it's not easy because it's something I enjoy. But sometimes you really just want to sit around and rot on the couch, and you really got to push yourself through if you're gonna try to make yourself in content. So that's what I'm here. That's what I'm doing, and let's go, guys. So we got a lot of things to talk about in this episode. Obviously, week 3 recap. We had, I'm going to call it, until somebody gives me a better name for it, a Newfie weekend, because there was no buys. If you don't understand that, you got to go look up how Newfies say boys, and then you'll get what I'm saying. But what a great weekend. Every team played. You don't get to see that too many weekends, so there's only about 3 or 4 maybe all season. I want to say that you could see every team play. And I was quickly looking through the schedule. I think there's one weekend we get 10 games or something in one weekend. So, interesting schedule, that's for sure. Definitely different, but awesome. So we're going to run through every game here. I'll break it down the whole game to you like I always do. And we've got a lot to run through. And then at the end of the episode, I'm also going to be going into talking about a little bit back to the basics Box Lacrosse, going over some power ranking stuff, my personal power rankings. Most people, including myself, thought Saskatchewan was going to win this game. I bet on them. This ruined my tickets this weekend pretty much, but that's okay. If there was one game I was going to be wrong about, I would have wanted it to be this one. I have a special place in my heart for Ottawa. There's a few teams that have a special place in my heart, but I always say, if there's one prediction I could get right out of this whole season, it would be the fact that we get to see Ottawa make the playoffs. I really want to see that. And them beating Saskatchewan shows that they can do it. Now, is Jeff Teat doing a lot of the heavy lifting? Yes. Hellier, absolutely, for sure. Both those guys are just absolutely beasts, right? And, you can't really take that away from them. They are definitely killing it here. So let's just run through some stats here, okay? So score was 11-8 for Ottawa. Honestly, that fourth quarter for Ottawa was absolutely massive, going 6-0. So really, it was that last quarter. They did a fourth quarter comeback and showing they needed this win, guys. They needed this more than Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, in my opinion, is still in that top 4 team, even though they had this loss. It just is what it is. Ottawa they really had, really one bad quarter for the most part. Saskatchewan, well, actually, you know what? They had 2. They had no goals in the first, no goals in the fourth for Saskatchewan, and Ottawa just cranked it up at the end. So good on them to get the win. Then you have, and this is the funniest part, what we're going to learn or what you're going to see for the most part, face-offs don't mean anything in this league. I'm learning that at least, so maybe you guys already know that, but I'm kind of learning that after watching this week especially, because you're going to see as we go forward here. But Saskatchewan Rush, they only lost 6 face-offs, right? So crazy numbers. Then you had Saskatchewan go 2 for 2, and Ottawa went 1 for 5 on the power play. Like that, again, does power play matter so much here? I do think it does you can make a huge difference on the power play still. I think that's not debatable, but when your team doesn't score, you're lucky you got some guys who can put some points up. So then you got 44 penalty minutes for Saskatchewan. So obviously they just need to clean that up, right? Even though Ottawa only converted on one of their chances, they can't be giving teams like Buffalo, Halifax, all these other teams the chances when they go into these heavy games with them. So that's got to get cleaned up again from them. But I watched this game and I was super impressed with Frank. Made some really good saves. I think that could have been a lot worse, to be honest with you, without Frankie in that. So showed it to him, and I just, that was really, that was one thing I really noticed. So Jeff T got 4 goals this game. Zach Mann's got 3. Austin Shanks got 3 assists, and Robert Hellier got 5 assists. So Jeff T with a huge, massive 9 points in this game. Huge. That to me is like, that's putting your team on your back and carrying you. Yes, Robert Hellier got 5 assists, right? So he's definitely the facilitator. But I can tell you right now, Jeff Teat, man, this kid is going for an MVP. That is an MVP performance. That's what we need to see. He hasn't won an MVP yet, and I think this is his year. If he can, I got into this with somebody the other day, just in the chat or whatever, on one of my live streams. Ottawa, if Jeff Teat gets Ottawa to the playoffs, he is the MVP. I don't care if they go in the first round. He's still the MVP, because the MVP for me, and this is, I think, is actually how it officially goes, is from the start of the season to the end of the season. The playoff, I think there's the playoff MVP too, right? So that'd be just for the playoffs. Jeff Teat, if he can bring Ottawa to the playoffs, he wins MVP. There's nothing to talk about that you can't deny there. Frank Scigliano was 54 saves. So that's what I was talking to you. Higgins, it was okay too, 38 saves. But Frank, man, I was watching and I was like, man, this guy is just keeping them in this game, boys. And then, the fourth quarter came along. So more scoring out of Saskatchewan, more offense, all that kind of stuff needs to be done. And we'll go right through. So the rush, Zach Mans had 3 goals, 1 assist, like I mentioned. Mike Messenger had a goal. Ryan Keenan had a goal. Robert Church had 2 goals and assist. And then Levi Anderson had a goal as well. So shout out to them. And like I said, Frankie just, realistically, 10 goals against isn't really too bad, especially on all those saves. And he really kept them in this game. So, if anything, that hats off to him. It would have been killed without Frankie. They would have lost that a lot worse than they are. And I can tell you, Saskatchewan to me was the favorite. Like I was going to say that. And to me right now, they got to be they're definitely sitting probably around 3rd on my power ranking list right now, off the top of my head, maybe even 4th at this point. After losing to Ottawa, it's nothing. I love Ottawa, don't get me wrong. I told you, I put those 4 teams in the cream of the crop for a reason. And when they don't go out there and win games they're supposed to, it makes me like, what are we doing here? It came out very strong in the first half and then locked it down. I think they got 1 goal in the second half. We're going to go over that in a minute, but they beat Colorado Philadelphia beat Colorado 8-7 and should have won. That, lucky for them, they beat Vancouver, but they really needed to win this one. The kind of the kicker here is that they didn't have Andrew Hewen. Andrew Hew's a massive piece for that offense, right? Without having Andrew Hewen there, they were missing that. They were missing that X factor that they had from the first game against Vancouver. Will Malcolm was the best player on that team, hands down, that night. I've seen so many times when he passed the ball right out in front of the net with a guy there that clearly missed it. And if they would have had it, this would have easily been, they should have had 5. I counted 5 chances that they passed in front of the net, a completely obtainable ball, catchable ball, and it would have been a 1-on-0 in front of the goalie. So you're going to think they're probably going to get 2 or 3 of those, and that would have been enough to win this game. So that's the thing. It's going to be the little things that really win you these games. Got, like I said, 7 goals in the first half for Philadelphia to 3. And then Colorado started to claw back, 1-0 in the third quarter, and then they scored 3-1 in the fourth. But they really did hold on, and they did a really good job. Now, shout out here. Holy cow, what a goalie performance, okay? I don't know what's going on with the goalie tenders this year. It just seems unfair for these players. Like, they're so good. All these goalies, look at all these performances this week. I remember a lot of my non-lacrosse fans telling me that goalies don't do anything lacrosse. If they would have watched this weekend, or last weekend, or this season in general, I disagree. Like, they do a lot. And they're really game-changing situations. Shots on goals were 60-43 for Colorado, 8 for 19 for faceoffs, 11 for 19 for faceoffs for Philly, 1 for 6 on the power play for Colorado. And that's actually, I think it was Brandon Hooton or Eli in my group, one of the two, or in my Discord, calling that out. Well, it's one of those two guys. They're both Colorado fans. They were saying this. They were saying that Colorado needs to have the better power, like their power play needs to be better, and these numbers are completely right. He hit the nail right on the head. These numbers, that's exactly what you need to see. 1 for 6 isn't enough. You need to be at that 50%. And again, they were at that 50%, 3 for 6. We would have seen a win by them, so that's important. You had more penalty minutes on the Philadelphia side with 12 over 6. Okay, so Will Malcolm had 2 goals and 3 assists, so 5 points. He's the star of the show over there. Andrew Hughes definitely right there. But overall, that he's the guy. You got Sam LeClaire with 5 points for Philly. there was a lot of positives in the Philly game. I'll tell you that. Then you've got shots on goal were tied for 11 on each side by one, or sorry, shots on goal were Ryan Lee for 11 and Brendan O'Neill for 11. And Brendan O'Neill is another guy that I'm so impressed with him. He might have the best shot in the league, in my opinion, or one of them. He's right up there. Like when I was watching him shoot, I was like, wow. And again, I'm just a fan. I'm a newer fan, right? So when I watch guys shoot, I can definitely tell who has a good shot and who doesn't. Can I completely break down the shot yet? I'm not quite there yet. So I said when I was doing my live, like, man, he looks like he has a better shot than Randy Stotts, because in my opinion, Randy Stotts has the best shot in the league, or at least again one of them up there for one of them, right? I think Jeff Tate probably has the best shot in the league, but he's up there, and I'm like, wow, Brendan O'Neill, he looks like he's got the best shot in the league. I just seen the PLL was pumping his tires too, saying he might win, basically scorer of the year or whatever in the PLL. And after watching him in box, I'm like, I could see why, man. That kid, and that's exactly what, PLL I find is a lot of outside shooting, which is fine, but it's just like that's what he's really good at, and he's powerful, and he just is so accurate. So he's slowly becoming one of my favorite players in the league as well, and he's so young, right? And I'm like, holy cow. But Will Malcolm going up against those two, battling it out, is awesome, and those two are both the futures for this. They're the futures for these franchises, right? So loose balls, Robert Hope had 9, and Chris Corbell had 8, and Nick Demude, 53 saves. Dylan Ward, not a bad night either with 35, but Nick Demude, wow, he stole them this game. And this is what I mean. So we had game 1, we had a steal of a show out of the goaltender performance, in Frankie, which ended up losing the game, but still, Higgins played well as well, though, don't get me wrong. Higgins played very well. But in the second game, Demude stole the show. Like, I'm talking, I couldn't believe the saves he was making. And I remember I looked at his numbers last year. He was around a 78 save percentage last year, which I always say you have to be around, from my numbers that I'm looking at, you have to be about a 78, 79 save percentage to give your team a fair chance. If you have a really good team, you could probably get away with 76, but to give your team a real chance, you got to be at the 78, 79. That's exactly what he was last year on this Philly team. So he's really good. And then he goes and puts out a performance like this. Like, guys, this is just, it's insane. You never know what's going to happen in this league. You never know. That's why I love it so much. Okay, so quickly, let's run through the Colorado stats. We've got Will Malcolm with, like I said, 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. You got Mikitosh, which was really good as well, was 2 goals. Dylan. You got Chaster, man. I don't know if I've never noticed him before or whatever, but anyway, to me, 2 goals and assists for him. He was really good too. I liked him a lot. And obviously Dylan Ward, what did he let in? 8 goals. Yeah, 8 goals, 35 saves. So not too bad, honestly. Not too bad at all. And then we've got Philadelphia. You've got, really everybody contributing here. You got Eric Fennell, which was really good. 2 goals. I liked him. Brendan O'Neill with a goal and 2 assists. You got Sinfield with a goal. He was really good too. I liked him. Evan Messenger, he had a goal. I just thought Sinfield had 2, but Phil Caputo had a goal and an assist. Joey Rez had 2 goals and an assist. So, they have a lot of guys who can score. It seems like they've got, like I said, I was impressed with Fennell. Like I said, Brendan O'Neill blew my socks off, I would say. Sinfield, I've seen him a lot out there. Like I said, I thought he had 2 for some reason, but he had 1. But you know what? Philadelphia, like I said, the nice thing about when you don't have anything that, like, everyone's expecting you to lose, it doesn't matter what you do, right? Like, you might as well just go out there and do your best. And this is how they did it. And they got the W, man. And this is why I love it. And I said at the beginning of the season, and I was like, I don't know what it is about it. And like, my head was saying, Philly's going to do crap this season, obviously, like everyone else. But then I was like, in my gut, I'm like, I don't know what is telling me this, but like Philadelphia, I think is going to have a good season. And I just don't know what it is. And so now I'm seeing it. And I see them play, and it's like, again, Colorado was missing they're one of arguably their best forward, if not their top 3 guy, right? So we got to take that into consideration here. But the fact that they won is super impressive, and shout out to Philly. I hope it keeps happening, because I think that if anybody needs a winning season, it's them this year. And it would up their value for anybody who's trying to buy it. It would do all that stuff. So I am so on trying to keep Philly at Philadelphia and Philly, and and I hope that they can stay there. So if they can have a good season, that's going to help bring the crowd in as well. We've got Toronto squeaking a win out against Calgary, 11-10. And I'm going to break it right down quarter by quarter. So Calgary went up 3-1 in the first quarter. They scored another 3 in the second quarter, but so did Toronto. So going into half, it was 6-4. 2 goals apiece in the third quarter. And then Toronto really taking over the fourth quarter, going 5-2, 11-10 final score. So massive win, a much needed win for Toronto. I said this last season when I was watching them because I started halfway through the season. I said Toronto is a lot better than the record shows, all that stuff. They had a lot of injuries. They did a lot of trading away, all that kind of stuff. This year, they got a lot of young guys. They're leaning on them hard. And it's going to give them time to develop, but it's kind of like, okay, what can our young guys do? The nice silver lining thing here is Toronto would actually do better to not do well this year. Even though I think they're going to do all right and they might even get into the playoffs, it would be better suited for them to do bad and for Calgary to do bad. So, because they have both those picks, this draft is going to be game-changing. This year's draft and next year's draft, from what I'm hearing, is going to be absolutely ridiculous. And, I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it. But I think Toronto would do better off if they could just go one more year. You have these three shining stars they have in English, in Sam English. You have Sam English, you have CJ Kirst, and then you have Owen Hills. So you have those 3 young guys. You already got a back end guy. Then you're going to bring Ty English up next year. You're going to draft 2 more studs that hopefully you can pick up. And if they could be both 2 impact players right away, now you've got 5 guys on your roster out of 21 that are all basically 1 to 2 years in. And they're just all young, absolute studs. Guys, that's scary. Toronto is going to be scary. So Toronto fans are kind of in this beautiful position this year because they're actually going to be they could make the playoffs this year. They couldn't make the playoffs. They're going to be a bubble team, in my opinion. But then even if they do, they have this lining where they're like, okay, let's, great. We go get a nice high draft pick, or, oh no, now we get to go see a playoff game. So we'll see what happens. Toronto is good though. And again, I hear a lot of hate off Rose, but I really like him. So the numbers don't justify what the fans say, but I do understand where some of the fans do come across, because when you need your goalie to make those big saves and they let a week one in, it is frustrating to watch. But at the same time, when you got a goalie that's putting up its 80 save percentage every night, you can't really blame the goalie. So again, another situation where the face-offs were the other team completely dominated. So Calgary had 48 shots on goal to 53 shots on goal for Toronto. You had 20 to 25 face-off. 20 out of 25 face-offs were won by Calgary, which is Toronto only won 5, which is crazy. Toronto did not score on their power play, which should be their bread and butter, to be honest with you, because of all the talent they do have out there. You've got Calgary converting on their power play 2 out of 3. And you got 8 minutes to penalty minutes for them and 6 for Toronto. Top goal scorers are 3 goals for Noah Manning, which is, oh man, that kid's amazing. You got also Josh Dawick, which I said was going to have a big season, 3 goals as well. May had 6 points total, and Dawick had 6 points total for each, leading them. Shots on goal, Bushi had 12 shots on goal, which is really big. Noah Manning had 8. Obviously, you got the most scores there. 18 loose balls for Iniasio again. Guys, this kid's good. This kid's good. Last weekend, I think he had 19. This week he's got 18. Is that Calgary's Jake Withers? Is that what this kid's going to be for them? That's a big stat. You know how big I am on stat. You got Aiden Walsh with 42 saves, so a good game, honestly, overall. And then Nick Rose with 38. Again, both goalies played really well, I found. And but you know how the fans are. All right, so just to run through it again, Noah Manning with 3 goals, Braden Lady with a goal, Tanner Cook with 2 goals. You got Tyler Pace with 6 assists. Wow, huge, man. I'm surprised Carter Cook didn't get anything. Ryan Lowen got 3 goals, and Hayden Dixon got a goal and 2 assists. He's big night for him. Yeah, Aiden Walsh, 11 goals. Again, it's not horrible for sure. 42 saves. I like Aiden Walsh, man. That team needs to figure out how to close out on the wins, though, because that's too tight. I think that's 2 leads they've blown pretty much. So they got to figure out how to clamp down, and that's kind of how experience comes with that and all that kind of jazz. All right, next then we'll go over Toronto stats. You had a goal and 3 assists for Kirst. You had 3 goals and 3 assists for Dawick. You had a goal and an assist for Sam English, getting his first NLL goal. Huge for him. Bushi had 3 goals. Mark Matthews had a goal and 3 assists. He's getting involved this week. 2 goals and 4 assists for Owen Hiltz. Huge for him, 6 points. Owen Hiltz is special, man. And like I said, 10 goals against for with 38 saves for Nick Rose. Solid game by both goalies. And that's kind of what we're getting at. We're starting to see a pattern of that already, is with the goaltenders in this league is just insane. You guys let me know in the comments if you agree with this, but I watched last season and half of last season, and I'm watching right from the beginning of the season. I find the scoring is like way down compared to what I was watching last season, but I was watching also mid-form teams. But these goaltenders just seem to be unreal this year. You guys let me know. Maybe I'm just too new of a fan still, and I'll have to get more games under my belt before I can really make a decision. Next, we have game of the week: Halifax versus Buffalo, 9-8. And I mean, this is like a storybook. If there was a script and they wrote it out, it couldn't have been any better than this game. You had Buffalo coming out strong. They got the first 2 or 3 in a row. Dane Smith scored the first 2 goals of the game, 5-2 in the first quarter. Then Halifax outscoring them 2-1 in the second quarter. So that it went going into the half at 6-2 or 6-4. Then you got a goal apiece in the third, and then finally Halifax in the fourth, 3 goals to 1, which was huge, which got them ahead. Buffalo ended up coming back, scoring with only a couple minutes left. Halifax runs down, shoots the ball at the buzzer, hits a piece of Matt Vince. Just enough to go to where the buzzer went before it went over. Oh my God. Goal got called back. No goal. Got called a goal at first. Got called back. No goal. Go to overtime. They go in and score again. And I'm pretty sure it was the same player too, if I'm not mistaken. And what a sequence though. That's exactly what you want to see as a lacrosse fan. And I'm glad Halifax ended up going to win it, because it sucks when you see it the other way, where they'll score a game winner and then the other team goes into overtime and ends up winning. But this time it didn't work out like that. Halifax going to Banditland to win, it was huge. That was massive for them. That shows that they are the number 1 team in the league right now, in my opinion. And I said that Buffalo's going to be in that pole spot until they lose a game. Here they've lost a game. Halifax is looking strong. I said that when I went and watched them last week. I said, man, they look like a championship caliber team, and that's what they look like. Now, like I always say, this is regular season. Playoffs is when it really counts, and that's when the Buffalo Bandits really show up and show out. But I can tell you, Halifax looks different this year, and Warren Hill played another amazing game. Like, this is just a fantastic game. So Buffalo actually outshot Halifax 53-40. Faceoffs, Halifax did get the better of faceoffs on 13-21. Power plays, 3 out of 5 for Buffalo, converting, very good. Power play needs to be better in Halifax, 1 out of 4. And then you've got penalty minutes, 14-12. There was some questionable calls in this game, I will say that. I know that some of the fans were a little bit annoyed, I guess is the best word, but I do think fans are too hard on the refs in this league. I think overall they do they do a pretty good job. Things are going to get missed. This is professional sports, and that's why with my thing, I always say, why don't we just have basically a camera on every player that flags, especially with the power of AI, you can flag everything you don't want them to see, and then it just basically, that way the game's called completely fair. But maybe we'll see that down the road. That's just my own interpretation of that, I guess. We've got 3 goals for Pedersen, and then 3 goals for Josh Byrne leading the teams. You've got 7 assists for Dane Smith and 5 assists for Dawson Theed. Dawson Theed had a really good game. 2 good games now as well. Then you have shots on goal, 17 shots on goal by Josh Byrne. Absolutely huge. Of course, you had Jake Withers leading the loose balls with 12. But I can tell you, Calgary's giving a guy a run for his money there for loose balls. He might lose his crown this year. Then we got 45 saves for Warren Hill, so another huge game for Warren Hill. And then you've got 31 for Matt Vince. Matt Vince, to be honest with you, was not spectacular tonight. Let's just say maybe he looked his age a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's Matt Vince, man. It is what it is. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. But if you're talking just this performance, not his greatest performance. So a couple things. Jason Knox with 2 goals. He was big. I liked him a lot, actually. Clark Peterson with 3 goals. Ryan Terfenko with 3 assists. That was huge. Dawson Theed with 5 points, 3 goals, 2 assists. You got Randy Stotts with 3 assists. Cody Jamieson with a goal and an assist. And Tyson Bell was kept off the board that night, but he was definitely in the box for sure. And you've got Tyson Bell, honestly, he's still he's out there doing his job. Don't get me wrong. Got Warren Hill again. Realistically, a very good night. Like he only let 8 goals in. At the end of the day, that's really you can't, I always say, like, if they're under 10, you can't really expect anything more than that. So I think both goalies overall had a good night, but Warren Hill, obviously, you know, quite a bit of a better night to start. Now, was it a performance like he did the first game? No, but that was just, that's not going to happen against the Buffalo Bandits. But still, like, what a overall fantastic night by Warren Hill. But he's doing a lot better than a lot of people thought he was. And then we got E. McKay. So on the Buffalo side, you got E. McKay with 2 points, a goal and assist. You got Dylan Robertson with an assist, Mitch DeSnewell assist, Brian Benish had a goal and 2 assists. Nick Wise had an assist. Josh Byrne had 3 goals, 3 assists. Trullo had an assist, and Dane Smith had 3 goals, 4 assists. So again, they're very top heavy this year. Dane Smith and Josh Byrne are obviously doing a good chunk of the production, which isn't to be like, it's not surprising. And then, Matt Vince, again, not a great game, but overall, he did enough, in my opinion, kept that score. 9 goals, including overtime, so 8 in regulation is not a bad game by any means. So overall, good game. And like I said, Halifax is definitely number 1 team in the league right now. Can they hold the title? I do think that they are going to end up in that pole position this year. I think it's their year to win. I do. Now, that goes with like injuries and all that stuff. Hopefully that stays off everybody. That's always the X factor in any team. But pending that doesn't happen, knock on wood, they should be a fantastic team, and they're going to be scary to play against no matter what team you go up against. So here we go. So next we got Georgia over Oshawa. Georgia beating Oshawa was huge for Georgia. They needed this win, home opener. Brett Dobson had an amazing game. This is another goalie game. Now, what is going on with Oshawa? Why can't they score? Like, this is their 3rd game of the season. I'm gonna have to go see if they play next week. I haven't even looked yet. But like, what is going on? You guys have to figure it out. This should not be looking. I honestly thought after 3 weeks, Oshawa would have probably been 2-1. That was what I was thinking. So the fact they're sitting here 1-2, and that Toronto game, I always even want to give it to Toronto because that's how close it was. Like, it was so close. Halifax was not a close game by them, and this game wasn't really overly a close game either, right? So, no goals in the first, both defensive first half, to be honest with you, on both sides. 2 goals apiece. Oshawa got both in their second quarter. Georgia got 1 in each quarter. And then you have a quarter 3, Georgia getting 3, Oshawa only taking 1. And then quarter 4 was 4-2 for Georgia over Oshawa, beating Georgia, winning 9-5. So absolutely massive for Georgia. You had Oshawa again, and another faceoffs don't mean anything apparently. 13-18 for Oshawa. 0 for 5 on their power play. You can't do that. And look, Georgia had 3 for 5 on the power play. So you can't be doing that, man. That's not enough. Simmons, as much as the team is not doing well, Alex Simmons is probably the only one that's probably consistently putting up. He needs help from Dyson. What has happened to Dyson? I don't know, but he needs to really get it together and start getting some points up. I don't know if there's something going on there, but he has not been performing well enough. Lyle Thompson got 3 assists tonight, or that game, with 4 points total. So a little bit better of a performance out of Lyle as well. And obviously he's becoming more and more of a facilitator as time goes on. Still, I think still the best player in the world. I'll die on that hill. You've got again another massive, like a 51 goal save. A 51 save night for Brett Dobson. What a huge night for him. Wow. And you know what? He needed that too. Like, I love Brett Dobson, man. He's so chirpy. I love it. It's just hilarious. And he is a good goaltender. And I think he's got like a chip on his shoulder and he wants to win this year. That's the real truth of it. So we've got Ty Kurtz with a goal and a goal and an assist. You got Alex Simmons with 3 goals and 1 assist. So, again, carrying the load of this team. You've got Kozchak with 1 goal. And where's Dyson? Let's see Dyson specifically here. Dyson Williams with 0 points. What is going on right now, Dyson? What is going on? Oh, man, I don't know what the heck has happened to you this season so far. The season's still early, but I kind of had him as my dark horse to win the MVP. Buddy, he's got to get going here. I think this is his, second year in this league, maybe third year in the league. So, yeah, sorry, this will be his 3rd season. But he definitely needs to get going here. Something's going on there that maybe, I don't know what's going on, but whether it's physical or mental or just, one of those things that he just can't seem to get it sparked this season. For Oshawa's sake, they need him firing on full cylinders because every other team has 3, 4, 5 guys that they can really rely on. So Ty Kurtz and Alex Simmons going out there performing every night. Dyson needs to as well. So not a bad game by Jameson by any means, but not a great game. Not like he was playing. So, like I said, Lyle Thompson got a goal and 3 assists on the other side here. You got a goal with Jeff Henrique. Then you got Nolan Byrne with a goal and an assist. Nolan Byrne looks really good, honestly. Richie Connell for a goal. You got Shane Jackson with a hat trick, which is huge. Michael Grace with a goal. You got Kyle Benedict with a goal. You got Brian Cole with 3 assists as well. But yeah, overall, honestly, great game. Great game by Georgia. Glad to see it. Like I said, 51 saves for Brett Dobson, only 5 goals. So he was at like a 90 save percentage. Absolutely huge. Huge for Georgia. Huge for Brett Dobson. And like I said, seems to be the year of the goalies, honestly. Like, I don't know what it is here, but it just seems to be one of those, it's just like one of those things that it just seems to be all about the goalies this year. They just really they're the real big difference makers in this. The scorers can't seem to score. Speaking of, though, here's the late night game, and you had Vancouver over Las Vegas. Now, something freaky happened here during the warm-up, and Chase Frazier took an injury. What a horrible time to take an injury before you're about to go start your season with your new team where you're going to be the guy. Your nickname is the human highlight reel. You're coming off of Buffalo, a championship win. And to not get to play when you're all suited up and everything sucks. Especially sucks for Vegas. So Vancouver did win 15-9, but no Frazier. So a little asterisk there. But still, Vancouver played so much better this game than they had, right? Vancouver outscoring Las Vegas 7-2 in the first half. So they came out very strong. 7 goals in the third quarter as well. And then Vegas really did start to pick it up in the second half. It was just too late. They scored 7 in the second half. Vancouver still overall had a better full 3 quarters and really just tried to lock down in the fourth. So they ended up winning 15-9, and they needed the win because this, like I was saying the whole time, I thought Vancouver was going to win, but it would have been chaos if Vegas won. This does not mean Vegas isn't good. Vegas is going to have a really good season. It's just they had to, unfortunately, wait till week 3 to start and then play Vancouver their opening weekend. So not great, but I think they have their home opener next. So that's going to be exciting for them. And Vegas, I do have high hopes for this year. I haven't heard what's going on with Frazier quite yet, but I'm hoping that it's not too serious. So hopefully he'll be back for the next game. Keegan Ball with 4 goals. Adam Charlene Beatties with 8 points. Donville with 5 points on the other side. Klutz got 13 shots, leading the game for shots. Tyrell Hammer Jackson, I love that kid. 9 loose ball pickups. So, again, I always say if there was one guy in the league to not be hit by, it'd probably be that guy. He's a friggin' animal, and yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Then you've got Kells with 15 saves, rough game for Kells, and then you've got Christian Del Bianco with 44 saves, so pretty good overall by him. So you had Donville on the Vegas side, just to run through the scores here. You had Donville getting a goal and 4 assists. You had Mitch Jones with a goal and 2 assists. We have Adam Poultras with 2 goals, 1 assist. You have Chris Klutz with a goal and 2 assists. Wesley with a goal. Preston with a goal. Hillen with a goal. Burns with a goal. And there you go. A couple more guys with assists in there. You had, really, they had Kells in. They ended up pulling him, and they put Bork in there. Vegas and their goalie situation, man. If they could just figure that out, they would be good. And again, they didn't have Frazier. So you go in thinking you're going to have this amazing different strategy, and then you go in and not have your star player is a really big key thing to keep away from this. So we'll see what happens there. But good on Vancouver to win. They needed the win. Yeah, like I said, Adam Charlene Beatties with 2 goals and 6 assists, so 8 points total. Callies with two assists. You had Clarich with a goal and 2 assists, which I said that you're going to need more scoring out of him if they're going to do good well this season. Garrison with a goal, 2 goals and 3 assists for Curtis Dixon, huge for them. Jesse King, 2 goals and an assist. Shane Simpson with a goal and an assist. You got Bowring with 3 assists. You got Keegan Ball with 8 points, 4 goals, 4 assists. That's what I said, man. Keegan Ball is the man. And like I said, 9 goals against, 44 saves for Christian Del Bianco. So huge for him as well. And Vancouver needed that win no matter what. They needed to win if it would have been absolute chaos without it. So good on Vancouver to win. And let's see this what people are calling could have been a possible dynasty to get going. So here we go. So final game of the week, Sunday game, awesome, great time. Rochester versus San Diego. San Diego, this is the exact version of San Diego I was talking about when I thought they were going to play like the first game against Ottawa. So I'm definitely higher on San Diego than I was, but because of the preseason, because of how they played, how they showed up the start of the season and all that stuff. But San Diego is this is a rough one, and that's the thing. I think when San Diego and even Rochester here gets in that top, they play these top level guys, it's gonna get harder. But Rochester looked amazing this game, 15-7 beating San Diego, and San Diego couldn't stop them. They were just pumping. Like, they've got so many guys who can score here, and we're going to go over that. So just for some context, in quarter one, Rochester got 3. Quarter two, they got 5. 5 in quarter 3, and then 2 in quarter 4. So 15 goals total. Huge game. Then you got San Diego, who had, an okay middle of the game, but 1-3 in the second, 2 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. Not enough, obviously. And Rochester, Hartley, save of the year, in my opinion, so far. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it was his fault that he got it. Did he put himself in that position?" Doesn't matter. When you fix your fuck up, it's okay that you did it because he fixed it. If that would have went in, you could have talked shit about him. But because he ran his big ass across the field, just dove and caught it with his stick, like deflected it with his stick, saved it. You can't hate on the guy, man. He fucked up, but he fixed it, and that's all that matters. And they won the game, and he was phenomenal. So again, faceoffs, Rochester only won 2 faceoffs. So again, faceoffs don't mean anything in this league, I guess, as long as you can get the ball back is the main thing. So huge for Connor Fields, 18 shots on goal for Connor Fields. Trevor Baptiste, killer faceoff guy, right? Obviously, he won almost every faceoff, and then also had 14 loose balls. You had Launchberry with the 7 assists, huge. Connor Fields with 4 goals. Launchberry with 9 points total. We thought we've seen some good goalie performances up to this game. 58 saves for Ryan Hartley, man. Oh my God, dude. What the heck? Fuck. I was saying that they need help on the back end. They don't need help at least on the goaltender back end. Maybe a little bit more defense. Damn, boys. Okay, so like I said, Ryan Launchberry had 2 goals, 7 assists. You had Connor Fields with 4 goals, 2 assists. Ponvy, which was really, I was really impressed with him. He had 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points. Huge. You had Hogg with 2 assists, Maderos with 2 assists. Zed Williams was off the board. Ryan Smith, 3 goals, 4 assists for him. 2 assists for Kyle Waters there. He had 2 assists. You had a goal by Pisano and Lord. So big game by Rochester. They have a lot of weapons, but also not only do they have a lot of weapons, but they got also 2 or 3, maybe even 4 cream crop of the top of the league guys. So that was crazy. The goaltender performance was absolutely crazy. Hartley stole the hearts, the show, and everything in between there. It was honestly, that was I thought I had seen some really good goalie performances up till that point, but I could tell you right now that there's nothing like what I just seen, dude. That was in freaking insane, dude. I couldn't believe how good that was. So I mean, just an absolute performance. Oh, that's hard. You know what? If I had to give a game of the week out right now, I would probably give it to the Halifax Buffalo game, only because it was so tight and just the way everything went. But like, there were so many good performances this weekend. The Toronto Rock game was really back and forth. Just pick your game, guys. If you're not watching this, it's crazy to me that this isn't mainstream. If you line that up against like hockey or a lineup of football or a lineup of any other sport, in my opinion, baseball, soccer, whatever, that weekend wins out of anybody else that you could say. You don't get excitement like that in other sports. You just don't. Not in regular season sports. That is insane. You got this little flavor of the NLL where the games are worth so that the players like need to go out and try every game kind of deal. So my offensive player of the week is probably going to be realistically, I'm going to put like McConvey and Launchberry with 9 points each at the top. Keegan Ball, honorable mention there, was really good as well. But those two could fight it out because they both played absolutely fantastic. Rochester is easily the best pure offensive team in the league. Then you have the defensive player of the week. I'm going to give it to Trevor Baptiste, and I'm going to give it to him because he only lost 2 faceoffs. He had, 14 loose ball pickups. Absolutely huge. Like overall, if you're talking, obviously they lost, but still, if you're talking who was the best pure defensive player out there, I have to give it to him. If you would like to go for a player that was on a team that won, I'd probably go to Withers just because, again, so many loose ball pickups, but he's so consistent out there in a game. You would know what I mean by that. He's always at just grabbing those loose balls. Goaltender of the week. This is insane. Before Monday's game, I would have given it to either Brett Dobson or Nick Damoud. Like that you could have either argued both those were easily an argument to be made there. You had even Warren Hill also with his OT win. I think he led a little bit of, Brett Dobson's only had in 5 innings. It's super impressive. Nick Damoud, just the saves he made were so impressive. Warren Hill, I know there were a couple that I was like, you probably could have had that. Especially that fourth quarter one where they were coming down and I think it was Byrne that scored it. Byrne scored that goal. Warren Hill should have had that one. And that would have won the game right there for them. But I'm going to give it to Hartley, man. Hartley, just the saves he made, the caliber, the spectacular saves, everything, man. That San Diego should have been, that game should have been closer without Hartley in there. So who's your guys' whole goal of the week? What are you saying? Hartley? I think it's Hartley, but you guys let me know, because I mean there is an argument to be made in all those, especially with the Brett Dobson one as well, honestly. So, all right. So one thing I do want to touch on too is that Halifax being the number 1 team in the league, I think that was the game that kind of was for the number 1 spot in the league. Halifax is good everywhere. Goaltending was everyone's issue with them before the season started. 2 games in, Warren Hill has an amazing record. You can't tell me this guy is not ready to go. So the goaltending thing, I think if he can get 2 more games under his belt and have really good games like he just did, that's going to be buried at that point. It's going to be gone. They do need to string a couple more wins. I think they have Saskatchewan coming up. That's going to be an important game for them to try to win. That's a hard game that they're going to have to win. But this is the thing. If they can go through and beat these teams that are the top of the league, then there's nothing anybody can say about them, right? So it was just an amazing win. Watching them go ahead, be down, come back, go ahead, let the game-tying goal let in. Buffalo scoring that game-tying goal near the end. And I think, just 7 seconds left, they get the ball, throw it down, put it in, get called a goal, and then gets called back, which was the right call. Don't get me wrong, it was the right call, which is why I love the replay system. I love the NLL for doing that. But with that being said, for them to come into overtime and finish it off was amazing to watch. I had somebody that reached out to me that talked to me, told me that it was very loud in there until Halifax scored, and then it just all the atmosphere got sucked out right there. So, all right. So let's open up. Okay. So the power rankings is going to be interesting, right? So let's go over my power rankings here, okay? That was the games of the week. Again, super detailed. Let me know if you guys like that or not. But let's get right into my power rankings. So I think I'm going to have to go Halifax number 1. Obviously, that's pretty standard. I'm going to put Buffalo at number 2, Vancouver at number 3. This is where it gets hard. Rochester, I'm going to have to slide in 4th. I'm going to have to agree. I'm going to have to go with that one. Rochester in 4th, Saskatchewan in 5th. Ottawa beating Saskatchewan's pretty big. I'm going to put them at 6th. San Diego, I still think they're a playoff team. I'm going to keep them at 7. Colorado losing to Philly. I do think they're better, but with Toronto getting the win against Calgary, it's hard, man, because they didn't have their best player. So I'm going to keep 8. Toronto at 9. Georgia at 10. Oshawa, I'm going to put Vegas at 11. Philly at 12. Oshawa at 13 and Calgary at 14. That's my ranking right now. Oshawa is falling off for me. I know maybe this, I understand why you could have them slightly higher, but as of right now, that's how I see it. I'm going based on who I think is the best, and that would be my rankings for who is the best. You guys let me know in the comments if you think that, but there's a lot of really good teams. All the teams are very close. So this is going to be moved up and down. And right now it's really anybody's season still, clearly, right? We're so early. So, okay. So I did have a good buddy of mine ask me if I could go through he said, I want to understand the game of box lacrosse. I understand his frustration because when I was watching it at first, I didn't understand what was going on. And I mean, still, some of the stuff, I'm still like, it's so fast that I find they're not always super clear on what happens. Like they'll just blow a whistle and then the ball will get taken over and then it's back. Even I'm lucky. I have a live chat. I'm open that I'm a newer fan, so I'll ask questions. I'm not scared to do that. But for somebody that doesn't have not sitting there in a live chat and he's like, what the heck happened? Like, why did the other team getting the ball back? It is a little confusing. So I want to go back to the basics here, being episode 20. Let's go back to the basics and go over this stuff. So box lacrosse is basically lacrosse's indoor, faster, tighter, more physical version. Played in a hockey rink with turf and boards and nonstop subs, right? So it's basically continuous play. There's never really any, there's not much stoppages. You get a face off every goal. You get a face off at the beginning, but other than that, they just continuous play. The whistles will get blown. They'll blow the whistle to stop the ball. They'll blow the whistle to get back into play, and the play continues. So it's like you have shot clock violations, which we're going to get into and all that stuff, but we'll go into that more deeper as we go on here. So as long as the ball is inside the box, so anything with boards, it's good. If it goes out, it's just like the puck in hockey, right? The best way I can explain it is if it goes over the glass, it's out, right? All that kind of same stuff. The crease is around the net, right? That's that little big circle thing. So the only ones that are allowed to be in the crease is the goaltender. So mid-floor or center line, used for timing transitions. And there's also, the NLL has an 8-second rule. So you have to have, when you start possession, you have 8 seconds to take from that side, your own end, and you have to go back. You have to go over the center line. If you come back, it's a turnover. So you can't, once you've passed that center line, you cannot go turn over back. So that's something to keep in mind too, or the other team will get the ball. So just a little nice little rule there. And that's to encourage to keep the game flowing, to keep the game moving. So you don't have a team sitting there behind their net, just kind of chilling. You got to get up the playing surface within 8 seconds, at least a half, and then you can reset. And that's why with the NLL, you'll have 5 guys come on that are offensive and then go off, and 5 defensive guys will come on, right? So what happens is a lot of times when the possession turns over, you'll see one of the defensive guys grab the ball and run up to center, just over center, and he'll kind of sit there, wait till the 4 guys change, pass it to another guy, he'll run off, get a new guy on, and then the play will essentially continue it that way. So it's not like, I like the rule personally, don't get me wrong, but it's just kind of like hockey where you sit behind the net, let your guys change, and it's very similar to that, guys. So that's all it is. So players on the floor at any moment, 5 runners. There's technically forwards, transition guys, and defense guys in box lacrosse, okay? They're just classified all as runners. So it's just 5 runners, 1 goalie per team. So six players on each side, right? So you have forwards who can score and create. You have defenders who basically their whole purpose is just to defend. And then you got transition guys that turn defense into offense. All transition guys are defensemen. All defensemen are not transition guys. Let's just kind of put it like that. And then forwards are obviously forwards. They're the guys that are going to go put the ball in the net. Players sub on the fly through the bench door, and you're going to see fast line changes. You have a box outside that a player has to be stepped in before another player can leave that box. So that's why you see a lot of times in box lacrosse, you see a lot of guys enter from one end, go to the other end. NLL is a little bit different because I think they have it kind of set up like all the offensive guys sit on one side of the bench, all the defensive guys sit on the other. That's kind of how they work it. So super simple for scoring. Obviously, the ball crosses the goal, inside the post, under crossbar, it's a goal. So a lot of the ways they score, like the 2-man game, the pick and rolls. So there's a lot. This is why a lot of people say this is like basketball, because a lot of the guys set up pick plays. There's a shot clock, right? You only have 30 seconds on the shot clock to get your shot off, or the ball gets turned over. So that's why you see a lot of basketball elements in there, but I find it's more like hockey myself. But it's kind of like if hockey, I'm starting to notice it's like if hockey and basketball had a baby, you would have box lacrosse, right? So, I mean, that's what I mean. They're even better now because realistically you can pull the basketball fans in, and I mean, lacrosse has contact in it. So right there, it should win. So that's one way that you see a lot of plays happen. You also have like the star pattern where they'll set up in. There's just a bunch of different strategy like hockey. We're not going to go into that so much. There's way more guys that are way more knowledgeable than me about that. Go listen to them about that. I'm just trying to give you guys the basics about it, right? You always try to play on the side that you want your stick on. So if you're right-handed, you're kind of playing on the left side. If you're left-handed, you're playing on the right side. I'm sure like there's some things that some guys will kind of tweak that a little bit, but that's kind of for the rule of thumb. That's mostly how it goes. So like if there's a player in the crease, if they run through the crease even, it can be called a no goal. So really basically the easiest way I can explain it is just you do not want to go in that crease. You'll see a lot of times guys will come in and they'll dangle and they'll go for a jump and shoot the ball. As long as the ball goes into the net before they touch down anywhere, they're anywhere on their body, they can't touch the crease. So you'll see a lot of times they'll go to put a hand down. If their hand touches down before the ball goes in, it's no goal. But if they were to crack down after, then it would be a goal, right? So that's kind of how it goes. But they just made a new rule this past offseason. You can't be you can't really have a defenseman because this was called the bandit rule, but there were some teams that were doing this as well, where a lot of teams were just like, you had defenses getting in the box or getting in their own net to stop the other offense from scoring. So again, a little bit shady on that one, but that's why they took that out. So like I mentioned, the shot clock, so it keeps everything pacing. So it's a 30-second shot clock. Once that's the 30 seconds, if you shoot the ball and it hits the goalie and you get the rebound, the shot clock starts over. If you shoot the ball and it misses the net, the shot clock's still running, and then the ball gets picked up wherever it is at the time of play, right? So that's how that works. So that's why you'll see guys, they'll be moving the ball, and then as that goes down, they try to get that ball off and get a rebound. Hopefully, it's an important game of clock management, just like in football or anything like that, right? For any of my football fans out there. So you got face-off and loose balls, and this is where it really swings games. Face-offs, and to be honest with you, we've seen that this weekend. I talked about it a bunch. They don't really mean much. Now, if you do have somebody that can win you a face-off, it can be a good thing. Like, I've seen a few plays where they won the face-off, went down and scored right away. So it can be a key addition, but it doesn't, this weekend specifically, it doesn't really seem like that big a deal if you're not great at winning faceoffs. I will say what I do find are turnovers, and loose balls are a way bigger impact on the game, in my opinion. And that's exactly what they sound like, right? You hit a guy and you take the ball off him, or you intercept the ball as it's being thrown. Loose balls are when somebody will hit them and then the ball is loose and you go scoop it up, right? So a lot of guys will hit their guy and then go scoop it up, right? So that would be a loose ball. That would also be a cause turnover plus a loose ball kind of deal. So that's pretty simple when it comes to that. So with penalties, you essentially have penalties. You have 2-minute penalties, you have 5-minute penalties, you have 10-minute penalties, and then you have like game misconducts as well, right? You got suspensions, all that kind of stuff. It just depends. Mostly what you're going to see is 2-minute and 5-minute penalties. Now all major penalties are reviewed. So all the major penalties actually I seen this weekend, I think were called back to minors. I do like, again, as well, for the most part. I can't remember who it was, but there was that one that was a hit to the back of the head into the board. That one was pretty rough, I'm not going to lie. But I don't know if it looked kind of like when I was watching him, it looked like he hit shoulder and then went up, but it did look, I try to give players the benefit of the doubt because I don't like to think that players are going out there and purposely trying to cross-check someone in the head. NLL game is 4 15-minute quarters, so it's just like basketball in that sense. I like it. There's like a little 2-minute, I think it's a 2-minute break in between first and second and third and fourth quarter, and then the halves about a 15-minute break or 20-minute break, whatever it is. So it's really, it goes by so fast. Like I was watching the Leafs and the lacrosse game. The lacrosse game was like almost done the half, and the Leafs only had their first quarter done, or their first period done. So the 8-second rule is important. It's in the NLL. Like I said, when you get the ball, you have 8 seconds to get over the center. If you don't, the ball gets turned over, okay? So, and it does happen. What you see more in the NLL, obviously, is more the over and backs where they go over and then they come back. And that happened this weekend too, right? So you'll start to get over and two guys might pressure you and you go to stand back and you might step over the line too, right? So then it's obviously you're not trying to do that, but it happens from occasionally. So, overtime is just one. Same thing, sudden death overtime. It's different than hockey, or I guess it's the same as hockey, right? Just goes up, scores, and it was what a game that was, man. Holy cow, that Halifax game. What a game that was, man. But yeah, so there's just a quick rundown of the rules. I think if you go back to one of my first podcasts, I did go over the rules too, maybe in a little bit more depth, but I did just want to run it down. Anybody who has any questions, please reach out to me. I can easily explain it to you. The best way, in my opinion, you can learn, there's no offsides or anything like that, right? So the best way you can learn is just watching the game. You can go on and read the rule book. It's on the NLL site and just get a gist for it that way. But for the most part, it's pretty basic to follow. If you're a hockey fan, I guess I should say, there's a few little tweaks to it, but it's very similar to hockey. That's why I love it. And it's the best sport in the world, in my opinion. So that's it for episode 20, guys. That's the week 3 recap. Or my takeaways for the week. Some amazing games this weekend. Absolutely huge. It was like the fact that it's taken me this long to find Box Lacrosse is the only sad part about this, because wow, is it good. It's such a good sport. And if you're not watching it, I really applaud you to do it. So with that being said, always leave a comment if you haven't yet, and tell me what you guys want to see. If you're still here, leave me a comment that you are still here. I always say that because I never know if anybody's actually made it to the end of these things. I do, like, it's been over an hour now, so I'm hoping to have another big guest on this next podcast as well. We're doing a preview video dropping on Thursday, and other than that, guys, this game is great. This game is so special, and what a great weekend. A lot of great games. If you could just start them a little bit earlier, like stagger them a little bit more, so I could watch more instead of having to go watch just highlights or the games later on, that would be great. But other than that, I mean, I'm never going to complain about too much lacrosse. So, all right, with that being said, guys, thanks for coming. My name is Jake McDonald. I'm Anything Lacrosse, and this is the game that never sits still. We'll talk to you guys later. Let's go.